This is one of the biggest mistakes in dog training. People don't have a consequence for the dog. Dog does something wrong and all people do is start shouting at the dog, or they ignore the dog. The dog gets away with it really because nothing ever came of their bad behavior. So they do something wrong, people shout and get angry, but nothing ever happens. And you don't want that. You actually want, basically you want some sort of consequence. Hi there, Doggy Dan here on a beautiful sunny day. Taking my dogs for a walk. Where are they? Down here somewhere. There they are. And this is week 3 of me sharing basically tools and techniques that I use for training the dogs. And today I want to share with you possibly the most powerful tool of all. This is the one that I've used thousands of times, not just with my own dogs, but with other people's dogs as well. It's called Timeout, and it's a funny one because it was used on me as a child. I've used it with my own children. It's so simple, it's vastly overlooked, and it's very easily done wrong, done badly. So the concept of timeout is, as you might imagine, you basically, when the dog is doing something wrong, you need to have a consequence. This is one of the biggest mistakes in dog training. People don't have a consequence for the dog. Dog does something wrong and all people do is start shouting at the dog, or they ignore the dog. The dog gets away with it really because nothing ever came of their bad behavior. So they do something wrong, people shout and get angry, but nothing ever happens. And you don't want that. You actually want, basically you want some sort of consequence. The problem with a lot of dog training is people don't have a good way of giving their dog a consequence of their actions. So say the dog, for example, keeps jumping up on the table to try and get some food, and you just keep shouting at the dog. I always say you don't really want to start shouting. Before you start shouting, you want to say, hang on, I've asked the dog once, I've asked the dog twice, now I'm going to put the dog in timeout to give him a consequence. So here's a couple of tips for doing timeout really well, correctly. One thing you may need is the short line, which is the previous video. You attach the short line so you can catch the dog calmly. Once you've caught the dog calmly, you may not need the short line. You may just be able to take your dog by the collar. You walk them towards the bathroom, the toilet, the laundry, and you place them in there very calmly, quietly close the door, and you leave them in there for a minute, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but you want them to be quiet. You don't want to let them out when they're still barking. Even if there's only 30 seconds of quiet, if the dog's barking incessantly, then go with 30 seconds and go for 45 seconds the next time. And you just let them out of timeout. Ignore them, that's very important. No pats and cuddles. And if they go and do the same thing again, just time them out. And you can repeat that a number of times. It's so powerful. It solves so many little misdemeanors as well as serious behavioral issues. You don't want to be using it for separation anxiety. That's another story. But one question that I get often asked is, can we put him in maybe the laundry room where my dog goes to sleep? And the answer is yes. So it's the way you put them in timeout, which is more important than anything else. You can even use their crate, but you don't want the crate to be in the same room that you're in. So the crate needs to be in a separate room. But I'm out of breath. The only other thing with timeout to do with the room that you use is, if you think about it, I was put in my bedroom when I was a little bit naughty, but I still loved my bedroom when I went to sleep at night. And that's how it is for your dog. The other question I get asked is, how long can we leave them in timeout for? It kind of depends on the room. I mean, you always want to make sure there's enough water in there for your dog, that they're not overly cold, that there's nothing dangerous like pesticides or toxic stuff or food. You want to make sure they're warm, that it's not going to get too hot. Don't forget about them. Set a timer if you need to. I've heard of a couple of people who forgot about their dogs. I even worked with one lady who thought her dog had run away. She couldn't find the dog, and she remembered she put him in timeout. Yeah, and that's the main thing. You put them in there. You can say your dog bit you, like really went bit you, not like savaged you. But if your dog nipped at you, as if to say, don't you do that, you could always kind of think, well, that's not okay. And you put them in timeout. You might leave them there for an hour, provided it's safe, got water, warm enough. You can put them in there for an hour. I mean, the reason being is sometimes People will go to work, they'll leave their dog for 3, 4, 5 hours, they may go to the shops, you know, as long as the dog's been to the toilet, doesn't need the toilet, nothing's going to happen in that hour. Dog's just going to realize what they did was not okay. Alrighty, so that's the power of timeout. You can even use it with puppies from sort of 4 weeks of age. You can put them in their crate, similar sort of thing. Anyway, I'm getting into lots of different details here. Timeout, super powerful. Don't forget it. Use it with the short line. Alrighty, I'm going to stay focused on climbing this hill. Catch you later, guys. Bye-bye.